Thanks for watching The Instant Reaction. For full episodes of the Cannon Podcast, sign up as a YouTube member on this channel or go to patreon.com/thecannonpod.
Stadiums are empty everywhere we go. Stadiums are empty everywhere we go. Welcome back to the Instant Reaction. Arsenal 3, Brighton Hove Albion 0. George,
what a top performance!
That was one of my favorite performances of the year, by the way.
I think it was one of the first half as well. I mean, the second half we were very good, but the first half was one of the more fluid performances I felt from an attacking perspective that we had. There were some moments we got transitioned on through the center of the pitch, but you leave yourself in that state when you place a Brighton team that play this way. There's definitely some risk involved there. So there are times that they cut us open, but I just felt like there was a level of fluidity in the team. And I just think that we're gaining so much confidence, mate. It's insane. I think, what is it, since the turn of the year, we've had 11 matches, 10 wins, 1 draw. We haven't
all conceded.
Mate, we haven't gone a single minute in the Premier League conceding in 2024. Do you know how ridiculous that is?
We'll say that again. We haven't got a single minute what?
Down, like conceding.
I see. Like we haven't been losing.
Yeah, we haven't been losing for a single minute in the Premier League since 2024. You look at our clean sheets, by the way, mate, 6 in the last 8, 3 of which have happened in a row. And we're going to get into some individual performances. I mean, not bad for £60 million to be at, what is it now? Something like 14 goals and assists in the league, 9 goals. I think he's got something like 5 goals, 4 assists in his last 7 matches.
He has the most goal contributions since the middle of February in the entire Premier League.
Yeah, it's beautiful to be an Arsenal fan at this moment in time, and I just think there's so many positives to take away from this match. It's not an easy away ground. We made it easy, and it's not. I think people just write it over that they haven't lost themselves since August at the Amex, and I just think that we look at this as a potential trap game, and you start to project, like when people were looking at the run-in, they bookmarked Brighton away as a very difficult game, a game that we could drop points in that wasn't against the top 6. And the fact that we just made it so easy, the way that Gabriel's celebrating with the block, there's just good vibes right now, and the team is playing at a different level. We keep rising, and I just feel as though, I don't know how you feel, mate. I know us fans are nervous for the run-in, but these boys are improving and almost taking a more complete performance with each game week that goes on. And I'm just ecstatic to see it.
Sham says, thank you so much for your contribution, mate. I see so much Mourinho and Arteta. Am I going crazy? Well, certainly, I think in, not in how they maybe operate themselves, but certainly in how they... Oh! Look, not only was it a treat with the game, we had a treat of Bhavs' presence at the Insurrection. Hello, sir. But yes, so much from Mourinho and Arteta.
You're on mute, mate.
You're on mute. I think it's certainly in sort of the defensive solidity. George, I'm actually going to disagree with you slightly on the fluidity in the first half. But what I think I'm more impressed, because I actually think we're a little bit off for the first touch in terms of certain players. I think Odegaard and Jorginho specifically. I thought we struggled to get a rhythm going at times. When I say disagree, I'm not saying we weren't fluid at all. I'm saying I'm not as fluid as maybe you were saying. But what I was more impressed with for me is how Brighton adapt to you so quickly. The moment you start going in behind, they drop back a little bit. The moment you start trying to play through them, they compress the spaces in the middle. The moment you start trying to play around them, they get out to you very quickly. They are so good at adapting to what you're doing so quickly. So that was, for me, the most impressive part of this game. How many different faces we showed, and perhaps it's one of the things. Maybe I'll come to you, Bhavs, in a second in what you're sort of impressed by. But how many different ways we stepped in high with 5 or 6 in their first phase, then we stepped off at certain points with 3 or 4. We went long. We tried to play through them. We went over. We went direct. We went right. We tried. We had so many different ways of playing. And again, this is what's been so good about Arsenal this season. That was, for me, what was more impressive. But hello, Bhavs. How are you? Are you on mute still?
No, unless you guys can't hear me.
No, you're good.
Fantastic. No, it was a lovely performance, and it's good for the narratives, because before the game, when you hear the stat that Brighton were undefeated at home since September, and you start to build this thing with Arsenal fans and the rest of the media of, this might be the slip up. Last year they beat us 3-0 and all that type of stuff. But I think the difference with this Arsenal side is they don't really look at narratives anymore. They go out there, they get the job done, and they rewrite the narrative. And you can see it bit by bit. We're changing the way people look at Arsenal. Before, under Arsene Wenger, we built this narrative that Arsenal have a weak spine, a weak backbone, we can't defend. And now it's completely different. And so I love the fact that every game we're rewriting a new narrative, and we're now 7 games after this league season, and I'm excited. And obviously, massive game in the midweek against Bayern. I'm not sure if you guys saw the result that Bayern had as well on the weekend. They've lost again, back-to-back games. So it's looking nice, but I think the key part is look at the way the Arsenal players react. It's very calm, it's very composed. It's like, look, we still got a job to do, and I think most fans are like that as well, to be fair.
Unfortunately, the Field Tilt World Championships, Scott Willis has not revealed the Field Tilt yet, so we're going to have to wait until a little bit later on in the show. Let's talk. I think maybe let's talk some of the goals. Let's tell you what we'll do. Let's talk Kai Havertz, because I thought not only was it obviously a great goal scoring record. I think that was before you came on. We were mentioning no one's got more goal contributions than him since the beginning of February. But I actually think he's now developing and looking like our most dangerous player in the front line. And that's the most exciting part for me, is that, when Saka is, and when we come to sort of assessing the individuals, we can talk about Saka, but I don't think he's fit, and we can talk about how that is and why that is. But in terms of who wants to step up, who wants to create that threat, who wants to look as though they're the one who's going to score the goal and eventually do, I think Havertz has added so much of that to his game. The movement in the box, even for the goal, the way he sort of feints to go in behind the defender that way and then steps in front of him. It's so clever. It's so smart. How impressed were you with Havertz?
Massively impressed, and it keeps going alongside this thing that I'm looking at Havertz going, you can give us an actual number 9 option. You're not just a informed player who can play there a few games. You've got so much of what I want. Fans talk about a new 9 giving us box presence. Well, look at the goal he scores. 2 centre backs, occupies, makes a lovely run and scores a fantastic goal. He's got that physique is there. He was causing Lewis Dunk all sorts of issues all game. And Lewis Dunk is no small centre back. He's a big centre back, a lot of Premier League experience. And Havertz is, and he looks like he's not even trying at times, because he's just got the physique and he's starting to learn how to use it. And look, it is very much a confidence-based player. And I think as a striker, that's a bit dangerous at times, for sure. But in terms of fundamentally what you're offering Arsenal, in terms of that threat, in terms of the assist and the goals, and was it 8 now since February the 17th? You can't look past that. And we've seen Havertz play up front early in the season. He was still dangerous. It's not like he's just had a recent, now all that's happening now is he's taking those chances. And people can now build that narrative that Havertz is actually a player that can play in the middle. But we saw it in even that, go back to the FA Cup game against Liverpool. He missed a few chances, but look how involved he was, how dangerous he was, how many opportunities he made for himself. So seeing this, it almost poses the question of, do we need a 9 this season or this summer, or is it more of a new goal scorer? Because I'm always wary of, if we sign a 9, how will that change the dynamic of our team? Will it affect Odegaard's goal involvement or Saka's goal involvement? Because what Arsenal fans think is, if we sign a 30-goal season striker, that the rest of the players are going to score the same amount of goals. That might not be the case. No. So you hear the conversation, especially on Arsenal Twitter nowadays, that we maybe should go for an outlet out wide instead on the left side. We've heard names like Rafael Leao and something like that. And I think Havertz is making it a serious dilemma, because his number 9 play is very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'll go further and say, in fact, the players won't score as many goals if we get a 30-goal a season striker. And I think I've said before, if you can go and get someone who does that, fine, but that's not the number 1 for Arteta. Arteta's not going, you scored with 30 goals, so everything, I don't care about anything else, you're going to score with 30 goals. That's not the manager we have. So, George, coming back to you, some of these numbers that are coming out, Raya, first Spanish goalkeeper to keep 5 consecutive away clean sheets, which is crazy. 7 hours since we last conceded an away goal, 28 goals in 8 games. Where do you think this leaves us title race-wise, sort of a big picture?
I've got something to say about it, but I would love to throw it back to you, because I think if anybody on the panel, I think you have more of the doubts in general about us potentially doing it. I think that we've been more complete with each passing week. I think we rattle off those records that you're seeing in the chat and all the numbers, and I don't think we're understanding as fans what we are doing. And I think that we are the best performing team in the league. It's undoubted in both boxes. In any metric you want to cite, in any function of the team, this team is complete. And they're displaying a level of maturity that I think, in terms of just performance-wise, it belays their years. I don't understand how a team this young is able to be this mature in this moment, because they haven't been for the last 2 years, and they're showing me something different. And actually, Mikel is. This team, I'd argue April and this time in every season under Mikel, this team has faltered, and it's displayed weakness. There's been context for it and why, but fundamentally, a lot of times fans were asking, well, you have to get through a run-in and perform, and the team are doing it brilliantly. A couple players that we haven't even talked about, Ben White, who I thought was absolutely incredible, has quietly been in probably one of the best form of his Arsenal career.
It's crazy.
He's been absolutely incredible, especially defending out wide in isolation, which is not easy against this Brighton team. And William Saliba, take a bow, son. For me, look, all the plaudits are going to go to Kai with the output, but for me, he was man of the match. Absolutely world class in his ability to press bait and take out distribution. He would destroy the Brighton press by simply just being composed, and he showed a little bit more. We've asked of this in the last pod, ironically, showing that dribbling capacity to bait people, stepping into midfield, and just becoming a release valve. And it was just absolutely incredible to see. Mate, you can go through every player on the starting 11 right now and find a reason, bar potentially Jorginho and Zinchenko. I don't want to end on something, but I think those two showed weaknesses. There was areas in their game that I still feel as though, at least in this type of game, it passes by Jorginho at times. I think there are Jorginho games, and I just felt like, for me, he offered a little bit of slow possession, wasn't quick enough with his decision making, and I think Zinchenko at times made some mistakes defensively that you shake your head at. And I think teams look at him as a potential opportunity to score. But other than that, it was top performance. I'll just end, on Jesus, who I thought is probably one of his better cameos since coming back from injury. Looked really sharp. I sent in a group chat. Sometimes I just wish he would stop the Jogo Benito brain and just play the pass that is on, because I think he was in brilliant form today. But he just overcomplicates actions that I just feel as though he would be so much more potent if he didn't feel a need to put it through your legs, so to speak. But that is him. So you don't want to take what makes him special. So I get it. It's just frustrating, but I think he was really, really sharp today, which bodes well because we need another attacker in form going into this busy period, in my opinion. It's not just Kai. I think Saka has struggled a bit with injury, and I think Martinelli is coming back from injury as well. So I think having another forward in form is going to be really important for us getting over the line. And Trossard, what a story. Coming back, score a goal, celebrates like a king.
And celebrates, which I thought was mad. Not sure how the Brighton fans feel. We'll come to each player individually. So Nikolov, stadiums are empty everywhere we go. Thank you so much for your contribution. Stadiums are certainly empty. But I'll tell you what, lads, the field tilt is very, very close. Very close.
Makes sense.
But we won 50.1 to
fine
Brighton's
margins. That's what I'm
49.9. We
should we get the parade sorted?
Just won the Field Tilt Championships today. That's all that matters. Let's have a look at the other stats. 0.4 XG for Brighton, so 3.3 XG, including one penalty for Arsenal. There's the sort of running XG. This is all from Scott Willis on Twitter. Expected goals 3.3 to 0.4. Actually, weirdly, the first half, it could have been my nerves and kind of watching it with that emotional lens.
I'm telling you, if you watch it back, it's going to be a lot more fluid than you think. And I think it's not as worrying as you think.
What did you make of the first half?
No, George said we were really fluid. I think we were fluid at times, but my point was more that I think we showed different faces and had to show different ways of playing through the game. And I didn't think we were particularly massively fluid in the first half because I thought our first touch was off. But again, that's not binary. We were fluid, we were not. I just think we were about on the sort of spectrum. Brighton actually had more possession, had more passes completed, but we won on field tilt, lads. So that's all that matters. Brighton also had more final third entries. We had double their deep touches. They had more zone 14 touches. So I don't know. For me personally,
what I would love in these? Like, if I could talk to Scott Willis, I would love for him to put touches in the penalty box or touches, because I don't care about final third entries unless that results into dangerous final third entry. And for me, I think that's been something that, even we joke about field tilt and whatnot, I think, sure, Brighton came into our final third, but they did. It's a serious topic, but I never felt as though, I don't know about you guys, but I just never felt as though that Brighton threatened our goal seriously ever, despite having final third possession.
Massive chance all game.
Yeah. No, not seriously, but I would say my point that I think there was times where we had to sit in. There was times in that game
we chose to.
We had to show different faces.
Me too.
I I think we chose to, and I think if you go and SofaScore, you can compare the first and second half stats. In the first half, we had nearly 60% of the ball, and the second half is the opposite. And I think a lot of it comes down to the game goes 2-0, and you go, right, we can now see this out. We trust ourselves defensive enough to not to concede any chances. And a lot of Brighton's shots were outside the box. I mean, can I think of a single shot they had inside the box?
On target. No, like I think many
So-
things were blocked. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
That is the thing for Arsenal. I saw the stat earlier this season that we've got obviously the least amount of touches allowed in our box by quite a mile. So it's all designed, and I feel like that's what you talked about. The Luton managers talking how Arsenal have different ways of playing compared to City and Liverpool. We saw it, and why that's going to be so effective is we've got the Champions League to come as well. And even though Bayern are not in great form, there will be times with Bayern at home when they go to their ground that they will have the ball and they can dominate. But we have now the ability to play the deep block, and we've seen it from Mikel Arteta's early days. Go back to the FA Cup semi-final against Man City. We've seen it from then. So he's got that in his team if we need to. We used to only see it if we went down to 10 men. You know, the Rob Holding protocol. Remember those days? Well, now we've got enough centre-backs to do it on the pitch if we need to, and we've got quality as well.
We should come to the individual performances. So let's go through the team. Bhavs, who do you want to take? You can have someone.
Should we just start from the goalkeeper? Make it easier.
Whoever you like. Go for
Let's
it.
start with the goalkeeper. Let's start with David Raya. I think he's, again, solid goalkeeping performance. Great on the ball, very composed, not much more to ask from. And again, I think, how many shots on target did Brighton have? 2, 3?
The Enciso, I was going to say, I think
Yeah.
that was a brilliant save by him.
Yeah,
Something that people critique him for, both long
Yeah,
shots.
it was
and-
similar
and-
to the shot that we saw from the Porto player.
Yeah, Galeno.
And yeah, to make that save was very nice as well. That's the closest I think any team has come to scoring against Arsenal in a while. So, and that was a long shot. That was a long shot outside the box. So, look, I think it's a solid performance, and I think that's what Raya is right now. He's got the most clean sheets in the league, and that's crazy because he missed the first 5-6 games of the season.
That is mad. That is actually mad when you think about it. George, who do you want to take?
I think I've already touched on Ben White and Saliba, so I'll take Zinchenko. It's tough because I think, despite it being praised all the time, I think he is somebody that just strikes me as losing his influence in the team. Doesn't mean that you have to say that get rid, and it's none of the absolute binary spectrum analysis.
You're
that
saying you
means-
hate him, is what you're saying.
Let me be clear.
That's what I
He
heard.
Should be
That's what I
put in
heard, yeah.
prison.
Yeah. Cedric Suarez. Prison.
But I feel that he's losing his influence on this team, and
Yep.
and the manner in which we rely upon him to progress through the middle of the pitch is no longer there. And I think that this team is very complete, and he's a very specific player, specific profile. I think that those defensive errors need to be clipped from his game, but also I'm getting annoyed a little bit about the manner of his possession as well. I think he's holding on to the ball too much, and I think he's recognizing his influence losing a bit and doing a bit too much, therefore, to make up for it. And I just think he needs to keep it simple and do what he's best at. And that's making sure that you find people between the lines and being mature, right? Like, you're one of the more experienced players in the squad. And I just think that in a team that was so complete, so composed, he struck me as somebody that struggled to offer some of that composure.
Kunal, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Yeah, I think quickly on Zinchenko, last season was so much about that 3-2 and doing it from fullback as opposed to having a double pivot from midfield has so many benefits. But that was when we could only really do it with Zinchenko. Now we found that not only have we found it with Ben White and Tomiyasu at times, and obviously with Timber as well, we also don't have to always make that 3-2 shape. And our midfielders have the engines on them to come and make that shape, but also make different shapes. So yeah, he's losing that sort of influence. I want to pick up on Jorginho in terms of who I want to focus on. I think it's interesting because the last two games in terms of Brighton and Man City, Jorginho, I would have said before the game, it feels like that's a game for him, where a team's going to step onto you. And when you've got a team that are that high, when they're stepping 5-6 onto you, I want Jorginho in that situation because I think he can hold on to the ball retention in the first phase, no problem. And he gets it around the corner when you're away, right? I don't know whether it's execution. I don't know whether it's physicality. The game looks a little bit too quick for him at the minute. I'm not saying his legs have gone, and I'm not saying he's in the Casemiro mold. I'm not putting it in there, but I'm saying at the minute, maybe there's something fitness-wise, I don't know, but it just looks as though the game is a little bit too quick for him. He's normally ahead in his mind, but it looks like his body, and I'm in no way suggesting he's sort of falling off physically, because I don't think he is. But I wonder whether he needs a little bit of time out of the team to kind of reset, or maybe some time in the team.
For him?
I don't know.
I'll be honest, because I looked at that lineup and I thought Zinchenko, Jorginho against this Brighton squad. I'm not sure.
I think, and Dan Fry, thank you so much. 1.3 thousand of you watching us, which is amazing. So thank you so much. But yeah, get the likes up, people, and subscribe.
Only 18.
Come on, Bhavs. We were on an interaction the other day, and there was a apparently we have more live watchers than the Man City official YouTube channel.
It's already hard. They haven't that many
It's not hard. I think, George, I would argue it was the game for him in terms of what I expect Brighton to do, and similarly to Man City. But what I would argue then is that post-match, we're watching it going, was it the game for him both times? I agree with you. But the point is, before the game, you have to pick the team. And I think, for me,
I'll have to hold my hand up, because I thought these were Partey games. And I look at stuff like Luton as a Jorginho game. I looked at some other low blow. I thought this was a perfect game for that. But maybe we're saving fitness, and you don't know entirely the plan. Because maybe we just thought that this was a good game to give him minutes and at least hide that and try to entry, because there might be games down the line that we might not see. So that is true. We don't know maybe the long-term plan, because in isolation, you don't know what the fitness is on the boys.
Yeah. Let's come to Saka, because for me, Bhavs didn't look fit. Which is, by the way, sometimes you need 60 minutes to get fitness, and it's fine. I'm not saying, crisis, but didn't look fit.
No, he doesn't. You can see he's not as sharp as he normally is. Normally, he beats his man a lot easier. He keeps the ball a lot better as well. So you can notice that. Now, I get that there'll be rival fans going, you're making excuses. And when he plays poor, you just say he's not fit. But you can tell, because you see a fully fit Saka, you don't see that. Yep. And look, he scored a nice penalty, and his numbers are still going up. And I think that's what he's about this season, where even if he's, not playing well, he can find a way to score a goal. And he's an output machine. But in terms of his performances, I think what happens if Saka has a bit of a poorer game, people go, he's been poor, just non-stop. And I'm like, no, a couple games ago he was doing very well. I mean, was it February where he had the most goals?
I'd say even March.
In March as well. So he's had a little bit of thing where he's clearly got injured, hence why he didn't go into the international break. Then he had a poor game against City, which makes sense, as I said, because of that. And then he's not been the best today either. But do you not see the connection here? Surely if we think, if he didn't go to the international break because he wasn't fit, it might mean that he's still not quite fully fit. Yep. But again, what happens to Saka is now there's a different level of pressure. It's also like the barometer for all the wide forwards in the league right now, especially the young ones, where if Cole Palmer scores a goal, it's Bukayo Saka's name's getting shouted. If Foden scores a goal, it's Saka's name. So right now, that pressure on Saka, because this is almost his team at this point, is massive. But he's still scoring goals, and he's still taking a nice penalty and putting it into the back of the net. He's now got, for the first time in his career, 30 goals and assists, which is fantastic. And I also think Saka's a player that towards the end of the season does come up again. And I think if you can just get a little bit more in terms of fitness-wise and sharpness, and I'm not going to doubt Bukayo Saka of all players.
Yeah. 30 GAs is crazy, and MIL reaction says Saka just said he isn't 100%. It's going to be.
You can tell.
It makes sense. And George, I think because he makes different decisions. I think he takes his man on. He doesn't always take his man on, but he takes his man on less when he's fit. I think he shies away from contact a little bit when he's fit. But I mean, it's just about managing it.
When Saka's fully fit, he demands the ball. He was not demanding the ball today. You can see he wants the ball all the time, but right now he was happy to just coast about and try to make something happen.
I just thought his penalty composure is something that people aren't talking about. I think this season he's taken a step up in terms of that. I mean, there's been narrative in terms of what he's missed on the big stage. Yeah, but and just the way that he's striking the ball with so much more confidence, and I just feel as though that the placement and the power has been brilliant. He's been getting a lot of really good clean contact on his penalties, which is really encouraging for me, because I felt like there was a little bit before where I felt unsure about him on the penalty spot. But I think coming up now, especially in his last 3 penalties, I've just felt like there's been an uptick in terms of his conviction from those spots.
This is such a specific stat, but I would love to know when other players throughout football history who have lost their country a tournament. I am in quotes for anyone listening to this. Lost their country a tournament. It was Southgate's fault. In that situation,
Did you see the balloons?
I think you can do this, and it gives you a little thumbs up. There you go. Wait, no, it's gone that way. You can do that. Wait.
Oh, see,
Hang
I
on,
don't
it
have
might-
one.
might sound like-
Where's my balloons?
Because you sound up late, Bhavs.
No, need some balloons as well.
They don't do it for late comers. Sorry.
I'll be on time next
What was I going to say? Yeah. Like a stat about like who has been in that situation before yourself, Seth, who's been in that situation before and lost their country a Euros or a World Cup or whatever, and then gone back and become an even better penalty taker. Like who? I can't name you someone. I'm sure there is someone, but I don't think that's that common or as common as
He's just so young. We forget he's just so young.
Yeah.
Those moments, they can change an entire player's career, like mistakes-wise. What was it?
Yeah.
Karius in the Champions League final. His entire career trajectory changed because of a couple saves.
Yeah.
So it makes you or breaks you, and it's made Saka into what he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's slightly because he's a goalkeeper, but I think like goalkeepers, I always say like the margins are, you make one mistake and you're done. Whereas at Saka, you can miss like 3 chances and you only remembered for the goal.
Yeah.
Let's come to some questions, lads and ladies. Put them in the chat, and to finish off the show, we will talk about. Can we speak about the fact that George has a mic? Finally, George has had a mic for 6 months.
I've
He's had it.
I've had
I'm the one with no mic today. I'm the one on my AirPods.
Look, guys, at the end of the day, I just got to keep the sound quality. These guys really just hurt, and they.
Yeah, some guys here with no microphones.
These guys with no microphones, what they're doing. Milo Haynes says, "Yeah, keep your comments coming in, and we'll get to as many as we can." Milo Haynes says, "Of all the up and coming Brighton players, who do you take in our squad?"
Not that we need him, but boy, Enciso is a player.
A dinger as well. Whew.
Yeah, I think
is he more of a left or right winger?
Somebody's Alvarez. I really think that he could be that second striker. A lot of people think maybe the upgraded Trossard in a sense, both in terms of signing, but Ferguson. I think that there's a couple of players, Estupiñán as well. I think there's going to be a lot of suitors for him. I think he offers you something really different in terms of that wide profile, but can come inside. He just makes really mature decisions in possession. I just feel like he's never rushed Estupiñán, and I feel as though that he constantly makes the right decisions in the final third.
Baleba as well, I thought looked pretty good. Although I kept saying, I'm a believer. Can we get the guy on the left to say the Fulginer standards, and we need to hear, so what do I mean by that? And central running power, the best quality, guys. Baz, we need to get you a catchphrase, mate. Watery eyes.
I can't really
What's your catchphrase, Baz?
there and there.
That's the Watery eyes. I knew you got there and there. You got the pod there and there. You're sorted. Would you guys re-sign Jorginho? I'm presuming to a new contract.
Yes.
I'd like to, because I think that he gives us something different. I think a lot of it does depend on me, for me at least, in terms of what we want to do this summer. Like if for example, the idea, which I still don't believe, is Zubimendi, then Jorginho becomes redundant in that energy. But vice versa, I still would resign him, and I don't think I'd focus my funds on Zubimendi. So therefore, that's why I think that's linked. It depends on the central midfield purchase, but I would like him to stay.
Mohamed Basha says, are we going for the double or what, baby?
Damn right. We don't hide here.
It's at Wembley, by the way. I'm just saying. It's at Wembley. We've got a nice record at Wembley as well.
Here we go.
I don't know if we're going to preview the Bayern game too much, but they've lost again. And there's reports that Tuchel actually might get sacked before that game.
That game?
As in, like, they're growing rumours, that I think they lost to a team that's a mid-table side or something. So...
Oh my god!
They lost to Dortmund and they lost another game 3-2 today. I think that's the most defeats they've had in a while. And there was rumours, I think Fabrizio put out that he probably won't get sacked, but the board are having discussions now.
Serious?
Yeah.
That's huge. That is absolutely huge. Wait,
but even if look, I saw a good tweet actually talking about how we approach this game, because we might approach it like City, where you respect them and you play like a match of chess, but. Instead, do we just go for it?
Would you at home without their fans?
Exactly. But it is the first leg as well, of course. And their fans will be there. They'll find a way. But I'm talking about, do we just go for it in a sense of,
you have to.
This is a team that's there for the taking. They ain't Man City. Man City are a different opposition right now. And yes, Bayern, of course, you respect what they have in Kane and Musiala and players like that. The quality is still there. But defensively, with Eric Dyer at the back, surely you go for it.
In build up, they're very poor, and we have a brilliant press. I want to see it. I don't want to see the pragmatism. I don't think that there's City in the middle of the park. From City, at least you can make the argument in a sense that they have they have one of the best central progressor players and team in world football. So there's a reason that you can maybe understand going more pragmatic. But for me, Bayern don't carry that threat. Their threat has always been out wide, and the threat has always been in their outlets. You're talking about your Kingsley Coman. Jamal Musiala is probably a threat on the inside, absolutely. But beyond that, I still would say, no, we're not doing that. We're not saying that. I think, Alphonso Davies is going to be an outlet threat as well. Again, I think Bayern, the best Bayern, at least this season, have been when they've used their wide outlets quick and early, and they've been able to have individual brilliance in the box. And I think that it's very easy to stop Harry Kane when you don't have a midfield that's able to support him like that. So I think it's time for us to exert our dominance. I want a big European tie, lads. Like I'm tired of basically having some of the group stage matches where we roll over teams. Like I want a big scalp. I want a really big statement. And I think it's time. I think we're able to do that.
I want to announce ourselves. Final question, because I got to shoot, from Ben Greenwood. How many more balls do we need to touch to win the league?
That's a horrible question to end it on. Please, someone in the chat, have something more. Please.
Why are you going to give this guy an excuse?
Our 1,500 people in the live now going to tell me to touch balls. If you want touch balls, put it in the chat. If you want to touch balls.
No.
Let's finish on something else. Let's do something else. Apparently Musiala isn't going to play.
They have got a few injuries. I'm not sure Musiala. They've got a few injuries.
Let's finish on this. Thoughts on Timber's involvement in the running?
I don't think it'll be massive. Because I don't think it'll be fully fit straight away. As in, I'd love it to be, but it depends on how a player returns from an ACL. It's not easy, I'll tell you that. And I think he'll play a part. But I think in the position that we're trying to play him, we've got quite a few options. And even though on fully fit, Timber obviously starts for us as a left back. When you've got Tomiyasu and you've got Zinchenko and you've got Kivio as well, I don't think we need to force him back straight away if he's not fit. But if he can come into the team and do something abnormal, then I'm here for it.
The people have overruled you two.
Touchy.
The balls are going to be touched. Pleasure, lads. Another great win. And thank you so much for being here to listen to us chat about it on the Instant Reaction, which will be here after every single Arsenal game. We'll be back on when's the game? Tuesday.
Yep.
For a huge game, huge Instant Reaction. But until then, you know what's coming.
We need to get this copyrighted.
You don't like to touch balls? So I love it. So yeah, come. You don't like to touch balls? You don't like to touch balls? Touch balls? You don't like to 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 touch balls? So I love it. The Korean guy, and so I love it. You don't like to touch balls?